Hello and welcome to the Cabin Boy Knits Woolcast, coming to you deep from the Canadian forest.
This is Christopher.
And this is the other guy.
Jamie.
Jamie just came back from an amazing trip.
Yes, je suis de retour from Gay Paris.
And you found some yarn shops.
I did. I met a few people along the way, had a little chat with them, visited some iconic locations.
And you brought back the goods, and I can't wait to share them with you. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and Jamie will share his story. So you're back.
I am just back. I'm not even quite on the right time frame yet because I've been waking up at 3 a.m. on a regular basis for the last couple of days.
And you've been sleeping in the afternoons too.
I just can't get back on track. But, yeah.
So, what were your favorite things?
Okay, well, before we get into that, I'm thinking, I know that I'm not doing any cooking in this episode because I just can't wrap my head around it, but I've noticed that someone's lost some weight while I've been away, and I'm thinking because I haven't been in the kitchen, and I don't think he has either.
Okay, full disclosure, I did find the kitchen. I know where it is now, and I reacquainted myself with the...
frying pans?
I found where the frying pans... I didn't find everything, I'll tell you that, but the appliances, I know where they are now, and I know how to turn them on. I will say...
And...
What?
And also, I noticed when we got back, because we have a tiny little dishwasher that we use, and he didn't know how to work it while I was away.
I did manage to work it. It broke down.
No, it didn't. It was working just fine. It was loaded up, and I had to turn it on when I got back.
That was the second one, though. Okay. I will say,
that's fine.
I made all of the meals, except for one. I only went to take out once.
Could you say lean cuisine?
No, we had some great meals. We even had a spaghetti omelet.
What? Okay. Who's we? You and Zan.
Yeah,
Poor thing. I didn't even think you knew where the dog food was.
But when you were away, here's what I did. So just quickly.
I know. What did you do?
I was teaching. I was teaching at Topsy Farms on Saturday on Amherst Island, which is an island in Lake Ontario. It's beautiful. And I had my sister and a friend come over and look after Zan while I was there.
You would love that.
So it was a Saturday. I arrived. I was on the 6:30 a.m. ferry or 7:30.
Oh my gosh.
It was early anyway. I think I left here at 6. Anyway, it was early. And the class was amazing. I taught natural dyeing in the morning and indigo dyeing in the afternoon. And it was beautiful. But when I got there, I was actually thinking about you. I was actually thinking about you all day.
Because I was supposed to be there to assist.
You know why? Because everybody kept asking. Everybody kept asking where you were. Where's the other guy? So
they don't know my name, but they know there's someone's missing. Something's not right.
So I show up.
Okay.
So I show up at the farm and the teaching area. I've taught there a couple of times, and they have a new teaching area. And it's not just for teaching; it's for other things as well. But it's this great area that has two huge, and it's all stone. Good because Jake, I think, specializes in or knows how to do stone fences.
Yes, and stone walls.
Stone walls, yes. And it was gorgeous. This area for teaching was absolutely beautiful. It had fire pits, 2 big fire pits, so we were cooking over the fire pits. And it was wonderful. Unbelievable. It was the best cooking environment or teaching environment I've ever been. It was phenomenal. I had so much fun, and the students were amazing.
And the Topsy Farm folks are wonderful, wonderful people. Their story and history, you've got to look them up because there's a real history there, and they're wonderful people. And yeah, he actually offers it's a class in this stone building, which he went over into I guess England. I think it was England.
Yes.
He went over to teach with I don't know what to call them.
But you know what? We don't need to know. because we're going there in a couple of weeks to interview them. And so,
Oh, we'll talk more about that.
So they're going to be one of our interviews.
Okay,
part of our interview series.
We'll have more to talk about then because this is news to me. I just got back.
You just got back. Yeah. All kinds of stuff happened when you were away. The other thing that happened was the Toronto Knitters Guild. They had a night where they interviewed Nunavut Kiviat. So the two owners, Jeff and Natalie. And oh my goodness! So they were there. It was live, and they were showing us. They had their coats on because it was cold now because they're way up there past the tree line. They are in the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, that's way up there.
It is way up there, and they were talking about Kiviat, and that was so interesting. Okay. So that's what I did, and I cooked. I spent all my time cooking and cleaning,
you dyed yarn.
Yes, yeah. And however, it was very quiet here when you weren't here. So I kept looking at Zan, thinking that somebody should. I'm used to noise in the place.
My voice is now noise. Noise. That's what I've been.
Oh, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
It's like some background.
I've been hearing another voice.
Like some background, if there was the expressway yonder, it'd be like that background buzz.
No, it was like, but it was. It's funny though because I kept staring at Zan, thinking he was supposed to talk to me because I was used to having voices around the house. So anyway, it's very nice to have you back.
Thank you. It's nice to be back home where I belong. It is, believe me. It was a little bit challenging, there and back, but landing back in Canada, it's always, I don't know if everyone feels that way. You go away and you could go to the most amazing places in the world, or it could be just as much as going to your family cottage and you're away for several days. But coming back home or coming back to your home country specifically is always a feel-good thing. It's just a nice feeling to be back in your hometown, in your home space, on your homeland. Yes. It really is.
So what were your favorite things in Paris?
Favorite things? Well, I don't know where to start. Favorite things. Everything about Paris is wonderful if you've never been. I mean, you just have to walk any direction, any block, and the architecture and the history is everywhere, and the culture, and there's music, and there's you walk along the Seine, which you'll see, and there's someone with an accordion there. There's a monsieur playing his accordion, and you'll hear it from a distance before you even see them.
I think we might even see somebody dancing.
We might. We're going to see a few things. But then also, I'd like to I could talk about a few iconic, tourist places that everybody has seen if they've not seen them live in person, up close and personal.
And are you going to give us the historical perspective of these things?
Well, I can give you a little bit of tidbit about a couple of things.
Sure. I'd love to hear some.
Okay, what do you want to talk? Let's talk about what first?
Notre Dame, because we were there before the fire, and so I would love to hear about after. And you weren't far away from Notre Dame, were you, when you stayed there this time, or were you?
No, probably about a 20-minute.
Within walking?
I think about 20 minutes. I think. 20-minute, maybe to 30-minute walk.
And when we were there, we were only a couple of minutes away.
We were fortunate. We had a little balcony, and you just went like that, and looked that way, and we were at the back on Notre Dame Cathedral is on Ile de la Cité, so there's the two little islands in the Seine, and so it's on the point of Ile de la Cité, and we were on, oh gosh, now I'm not going to remember what the little island's called behind it. Ile Saint, is it Ile Saint?
Well, I'll put it in the show notes.
Stayed on the little island just behind there. So so Notre Dame, it's unbelievable because you can see the scaffolding. You'll see in some photos that'll come out. You see the scaffolding, and they were able to stabilize it, and that was the first thing to do following the Great Fire. It happened when they were doing renovations to the roof, and this was April in 2019. So the first thing was to stabilize the structure so it didn't, full collapse. So you could see they're famous for those buttresses, the way it was built, and
are they flying?
It was in the 12th century when it began. In 1163, the first stone was laid by Pope Alexander III. The first stone in 1163. That's 800 years from the year I was born. And so the buttresses like this are all, there's all of this massive wooden beam structures supporting all of it, and the scaffolding. The towers are intact. But one thing I noticed, I think it looked like the back of the cathedral wasn't there because it was rounded with a tower and it seemed flat. And I said, something doesn't seem right there. But, the history goes back, like I mentioned, to 1163. It was under construction for about 170 years, finished in about the year 1330. You can imagine Canada's only, 300 years old maybe with the incorporation of the Quebec City. So we're talking history. Some of the other things about Notre Dame is it became very famous following Victor Hugo's novel.
I was wondering when you were going to get that.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame. But then this became iconic following that. So they started restoration and renovation following that in the this was in Victor Hugo. Did I say the year? Is 1831. So in the late 1800s, they started renovations and restorations. And, a lot of it was devastated and looted and desecrated during the French Revolution. And then another tidbit of interesting information was during World War II, the occupation of by the Germans, that and the Eiffel Tower, there was plans to bomb and destroy all of the iconic monuments of Paris. And he was given the order to this to the head military governor of Paris at the time, and he disobeyed the order because it was too beautiful and iconic, and in his heart he couldn't do it. And we still have these iconic buildings as of today. And they're planning on having the renovation, now with the fire happening, they're planning on having this renovation and restoration done by the spring of 2024 in time for the Summer Olympics of 2024.
Oh, wow.
And So
there was a lot of drama around there as well when you were there.
Well, this is the thing. Because it's right center, just across from it, is there's a courthouse that was expanded over the last 2 years or year or so because they were having the trial of the century. And we came across some of those iconic bridges just right there. And the entire area was just hundreds of military and police and convoys of police vehicles and military vehicles because of, we don't like talking about negative stuff over there, but this is a period of time that it was the terrorist act that happened just a couple of years ago at one of the music venues, which was many, many deaths. And they were having the trial, they're calling it the trial of the century. Wow. So it was completely under armed guards for those several days. It's kind of quite unnerving, to be honest.
But on a positive note, you met the chief of military police when you were there.
Well, I did, only because I was asking for direction. Now, this is a different story because we were looking for directions and we were staying not far from Gare de Lyon.
And just to explain,
myself and a good friend of mine was celebrating a special birthday there, and I thought, hey, you can't just go on your own. I'm going to come and join you in Paris. And I'm thinking, I can't go to Paris. I'm like, maybe I can. It's very last
and
minute.
You found your ruby red slippers.
I did.
And you clicked them twice, and you're in Paris.
I clicked them a half a dozen times. It's take me away from all of this. I need to see people in a city. And I was like, oh, hi. By the way, I'm coming to Paris with you. What? So, you're kidding me, right? And then now I'm going. I'm serious. I'm going. And so I couldn't even believe it. And there it was, Paris.
Yeah.
So we asked for directions, and we're at the train station not far from where we were staying. And the military guy was quite upfront and friendly. He looked like a French Richard Gere. That was my first impression. He was very handsome and sexy and very friendly. And so he was
he taller than Richard Gere, or was it?
No, he's about the same height because I met Richard Gere.
Because you were on set with Richard Gere.
I was, and I met him, and I could see why he was a superstar. Because as soon as he smiled, I was like, "Wow!" I was just like, "Oh, that guy is handsome." That was on the set of Chicago. So this guy reminded me of him. He was about the same size, same height. And he had that look about him, and he was quite sexy. And he gave us the correct directions. And he was there because I almost ran into the president, Macron.
As one does when they visit.
If it's not Prime Minister Trudeau, it's the president of France, and he was there for a 40th anniversary or something iconic at that iconic train station, and so it was surrounded by military, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to get on a train, and positive energies and dramas ensued.
Awesome. Were there any other places that you visited that you want to talk about?
There were several. I mean, Yeah, there were, there's several. Of course, we could talk about the, let's talk about the Eiffel Tower, only because it's iconic.
Sure.
So, the Eiffel Tower.
Did you? I just love it because did you go up this time?
I did not go up the Eiffel Tower because I was up once before with this one, and I noticed from the corner of my eye when I got to the top, when I went up
Oh my God, it was
that
not a good
machine
scene.
that seemed like it was a machine from the 1800s, and the trestles and the steel going like this and going like this, and everyone's getting smaller and smaller. And then when I got up there and the whole tower was spinning, because I didn't know the tower was on a rotating platform, but it was in my mind, and I was rotating and I was looking at the wall. There was a defibrillator, and I was having a panic attack.
And do you remember? But when we were going up, there was a woman in stilettos.
Yes.
And dressed to the nines. Like she was just beautifully
And
dressed.
she seemed to be by herself,
And
wasn't she?
I think she was with another guy.
I just saw
And
her.
so, but huge stilettos. And I just thought, oh my God, are you kidding me? There's no way you're making it up the Eiffel Tower. And so,
Because we've got to do stairs.
you were almost there at the top, and then you sat down. And so then I left you after I was confident that you were in good hands.
Which I wasn't.
With strangers. And I went up to the top, and she was up there drinking champagne.
She ran up that last staircase to the higher viewing point in her stilettos. And I was, remember we grabbed a barf bag we asked in the store, because I
remember that. So I went in and asked for a bag, and they wouldn't give me one. And I said, well, then my partner might throw up all over your store.
That's right. And I was like doing that. I was like, what? And I was.
So they gave us one.
Oh, the drama follows that one everywhere it goes. And no, I was really not well. I know I have vertigo, and you think you could overcome your fears, and even thinking about it, and then I was not well for the rest of the day. So this time.
Okay, so this time you did not go up.
No, I just viewed it from the ground up. Sure. And interestingly, you're going to see there's scaffolding at the base of it.
Yeah.
So here we are scaffolded again. And that's because they paint the Eiffel Tower every 7 years using about 60 tons of paint. And it's that rusty color. You think it's the color, like you just assume that's the color of the rusting steel, but it's actually paint. Wow. So it's been painted 19 times since it's built.
Oh, wow.
And of course it was built for the World's Fair, and all the arts, was like, oh my gosh, this disturbing, very disgusting form of architecture was just, and it's still standing today, and they get over 7 million visitors a year that go up that Eiffel Tower.
Any other places?
Well, what's iconic? We crossed the Alexander Bridge. It's the Pont Alexandre III, and is that the one with the gold? It's beautiful and stunning, and it has gold, and it's very ornamental.
Is that the one that you were standing on, and you said, we've been in Paris all day, and I still haven't seen the Eiffel Tower, and it was right behind you?
Yeah, because then he tricked me, because in my wildest dreams, it was always in my mind to be in Paris. Everybody dreams. Maybe you do. Maybe everyone does, or maybe just romantic. But I'm thinking one day when I go to Paris, it was it's on that thing that I want to be there someday, somewhere, sometime with someone, and it'll be very special. And it was, because we were together, and I celebrated one of my big birthdays. I think it was my 40th, and it was wonderful. And we're on this bridge, and it's named after the Tsar Alexander III. His son Nicholas II was there laid the whatever steel, but it's also a marvel of engineering, because it has a 20-foot steel arch and span that was an engineering feat in its day. And again, it was built and dedicated around at the same time as the World's Fair, which was, as well as the Grand Palace. The Grand Palais was built at that time, and also the Musée d'Orsay, which...
Well, that's great too.
And why I want to mention that, because it is knitting related. So what I tried to do, some of it isn't, but a lot of what I tried to do, I was trying to find something knitted. There was a yarn bombing right in front of Notre Dame Cathedral. So I took a picture, but you can only see the sign of Notre Dame because it's all boarded up.
Yeah.
But it has photos and whatever, and it was there. But the Musée d'Orsay, so this, again, World's Fair, they built this unbelievably beautiful train station, which was the central new train station for all of Paris, and to bring in the tourists and the visitors. Sure. But not long afterwards, and this is in the late 1880s, 1888, 89, finished around 1900, around the same time. Same with the bridge, inaugurated in the 1900 World's Fair. But shortly after, by the 1930s, the trains no longer could occupy those short platforms.
Sure.
And it was just sort of like local trains would use it. And then it closed, and it was closed for, it was a post office for a while. But 47 years later, by 1986, they refurbished it and turned it into the Museum d'Orsay. It was the Gare d'Orsay before.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
It
museum.
still has the beautiful iconic clock, and the interior is pretty much as it was, and the exterior rooftop with the iconic monuments and statuary is absolutely stunning. But inside, there is also some beautiful marble. Of course, it's known for its impressionist and post-impressionist paintings, the largest collection of the world like Monet, Manet, Cézanne, Renoir, Van Gogh, Gauguin, not Godin, Gauguin. But the marble statuary, and a few of them, they had yarn balls, and they had like a spindle. You know, how do you do it when it's just the one spindle for spinning?
Like
it's
a drop spindle? Is that
because it was like this, and it had the wool, and there's one where she's holding it in her hand, and there's the balls of wool, and there were a few of them.
And this was a
this would have been from these sculptures, or from marble sculptures from the. I think they're all from like the 1800s. So back then, and here they were with, and I thought that was fascinating.
Wow.
So Musée d'Orsay.
That sounds great. So, did you get to any yarn shops?
Of course I did, because I thought if I'm going to Paris, I'm going to look into who and where I should go when looking for wool in Paris.
So where did you go?
Well, my first pit stop, I went to a place called Les Tricoteurs Volants, and that's the flying knitters, but not only knitters, because tricoteur is masculine as opposed to when we were in Montreal, it was les tricoteuses, les tricoteuses du quartier, which was the girl knitters. This is a male, guy knitters, flying knitters.
Who would have thought?
Exactly.
Well, let's take a look.
Hi there. So I am here officially on business in Paris, and I've just arrived to one of the yarn shops that was highly recommended by good friends of Cabin Boy Knits. It's called Les Tricoteurs Volants in Paris. We're going to go inside, speak with Enrico, and have a little chat and check out his shop. So come on in.
Hello.
Bonjour, mes amis.
Bonjour, Jamie. Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you. Who's your friend?
My friend is Camille.
Camille.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Sometimes has me here.
So, I'm sent all the way from Canada because I heard you have a wonderful shop.
Wow, that's a long trip.
And so I'm hoping you could just, show me around your shop, tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. So, we are in Paris. So it's a tiny place, but it's filled with yarn the best that I can. And I sell yarns that I like first. So I choose what kind of yarn I want to sell in the shop. And I have several European brands and some French brands too. Do you want me to show you?
Sure, you could show me a few brands, or what are some of your favorites, maybe?
For example, one of my favorite brands, it's the Danish brand BC Yarn. I don't know if it's known overseas. It's a Danish brand with specializing in GOTS labeled yarn, so like kind of organic for animal fiber. For example, they have organic Shetland. They have this one, a 3D one, which is organic too. and some else yarn are going to be organic in the next future. If you want to see some French brands, I have one of my very dear Fonty. Fonty, for example, would be this. It's a mill in the center of France, in an area called Creuse, and it's the traditional place of, I would say, there is a history of spinning mills and fiber work in this area since 18th century, I think. And this is a brand new yarn. I just received it like last week. It's 100% French yarn. It means the sheep are from French. They are raised near the mill, and the wool is washed and combed somewhere else, but still in France, in the north of France, and then it comes back to the mill in Creuse to be spun and dyed. And it's a bit of a rustic yarn, which I like very much. Very good for texture and like moss stitch or cables, like this. Also in the new yarns, this one is very interesting, from the German brand Kremke. It's named Reborn Wool because they are specializing in upcycled fiber. So this one is made from recycled wool and plastic bottles, and it knits up like this, and you feel the wool. You don't feel the plastic bottle in it. You can try if you want.
Okay.
And they have nice hairspread colors because it comes from the different shades of recycled garment or waste that are recarded together to make new yarn.
Okay.
I have also some recycled wool from Italy here, from a small mill in Tuscany near Florence. I have some nice hand-dyed lace yarn from a dyer that I love. It's Carsten from Triskelion Yarns. He's in Wales, and he's a master of colors, really. He makes me love even colors that I don't like green and yellow. He makes beautiful greens and beautiful yellows. But it's difficult to work with him because, Brexit. I have books too.
Yes.
This is a brand new book by Erika Knight. I love Erika Knight. My first pattern book was from Erika Knight. A book with only patterns for men. So it's kind of emotional for me to sell Erika Knight's book. And yarn too. This is one from this is one yarn by Erika Knight, and this one is GOTS too, so it's like organic. And I just started as well. Do I have it here? No, I have it at home. And voila! So I make some design too. For example, Camille is knitting one of my latest patterns.
You'll see it better in the window.
This one,
Ah.
actually. This one was made with a yarn by Fonty. Moustache. That's a blend of merino, kid mohair and silk. very luscious to work with and to drape around the neck. And this pattern is called Troisième Sexe.
Troisième Sexe.
Because almost all my patterns are named after songs from the 80s. So Troisième Sexe is by Indochine. I don't know if you know.
Yes.
And it was named Troisième Sexe also because when I released the pattern, I made a little fundraising for an association who works for transgender people, and I raised a little money for the association in Paris. 90% of my yarns are from Europe.
Yes.
That was a choice.
Yes.
And there are some tiny exceptions. Cougar Blues from South Africa, and Manos de Uruguay, which is a well-known brand from Uruguay.
Okay.
And both are brands. It's like cooperatives of women working in places that are not very fair with women. Ah, yeah, I have some handspun yarn.
Handspun.
Here.
Okay. Let's see.
It's made by a very close friend with a great spinner. And since she spins all day, sometimes she comes here like, okay, I have all this, can you sell it for me? Okay, I have no room at home. Okay, I will sell it for you, no problem. So it's like, I have small batches, and sometimes I have a big basket with unspun, and now I have not so much, but she wasn't in holidays, so
Okay.
I think she has spun a lot. So like next week she will come with
Okay.
a big batch of yarn. In the books, I have the last book by my close friend Alice Amer. Alice is a great knitwear designer. She has so many beautiful patterns, and this one is a bit special because there are patterns in it, but it's a book where she explains how wool industry works in France.
Okay.
She spent months before and during COVID. It was a bit tricky. Driving around France to meet dyers, mill owners, and how do you say this in English? Tondeur sharers,
Yes.
professional sharers. And this is very interesting because it shows how it works from the sheep in the meadow to a yarn shop.
Yes.
It's very, very
And
interesting.
this book is
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
And it's named French Tricot because it's so nice to see. To say French Tricot.
Yes.
I love the name of the book. And so she's Alice, and if you don't know her, please check her website or her Ravelry page, because she makes very, very beautiful things. Camille, tu veux dire quelque chose?
Tu veux dire quelque chose, Camille?
Ça va.
Puis toi, comment t'aimes ça? Ton patron ici, il est difficile? Non.
Oh, she's a,
No.
she's a really good patron. She's a really good boss. I'm always really happy to work here. And it's so great because it's like wonderful yarn. So when I want to knit or when mom wants to knit, I can always find some really great yarn and some really good project. Also, he didn't talk at all about the needles that he sells. He made me discover the xiaogu, which are just amazing to knit with, and I'm only knitting with them now.
We are not sponsored by Xiaogu,
We are not sponsored by them,
but we should be.
Yes, Alice Hammer, the designer, once said that with this kind of needle, it's one stitch, one orgasm.
Wow.
Yes.
Moi, j'en ai besoin d'une paire.
So yeah, it's always a pleasure to come here and help Enrico out.
Avez-vous beaucoup de touristes qui viennent?
Yeah, kind of, yes. From everywhere around the world, Europe, and also from the USA or Canada. We have some people come from Canada coming
From
in.
Asia too.
From Asia too, and well, all over France, obviously. Yeah.
Because you know how knitters are when they travel, when we travel. The first thing we visit is the yarn shops and not the museums and things.
Yes.
Yes. And then
I'm so glad you went into that shop because that shop is amazing. I love it.
You know, it's a great shop. They had quite a selection, some very local French yarns. Enrico was wonderful, and Camille, who was in the background, chatted with him, and
Yes.
he was manning the shop, literally manning it, because it's a male knit store. It's not.
He
It's
was
for
personing.
everyone. He was very personable, very charming,
personing.
and he was he was so charming, and he's very excited and very chatty. It was great chatting with him.
Can I ask you a question? Did you talk to them beforehand? Because the reason I'm asking this is when you walked in, Enrico, the way he said to you, "Hi, Jamie." There was this sound of familiarity. It's like you guys have been friends for forever.
No, I think he watched the show and he's like, I know who that is. That's the other guy. No, we had never met before. So, it's not like I just show up. I make it look like I'm just going, oh, hey, hi, I'm me, and I'm here, and I want to talk to you. No, he was expecting me because I contacted him.
Sure.
And
Okay.
then I said, well, I'm going to pop in and go, hey, and say, show me around your shop. And that's exactly what we did.
What I loved about that yarn shop was, I was salivating for one thing when I was watching it, but I loved that he said, "This is the yarn that I like."
That's what I was going to say.
I love that. I thought that was great.
He fills his store with what he
Yes.
likes and what he loves and what he thinks, I love this, and others are going to love it too.
Yeah.
And so he's got a very good clientele base, and they go there for the love of the wool and the wool that he chooses. I guess, they trust his intuition and what he brings to the shop and loves to sell. They had a bit of everything, and as you saw, and books and whatnot.
Yes.
And then as I was leaving, he says, I have a little something to bring back to Cowboy Knits. This one, I said, yes, gladly bring back to Cowboy Knits.
Well, it's funny because and so you brought this
I'm not
back.
Cowboy Knits, and everyone's
That is not true at all. Do not believe him. That is not true. When I was teaching at Topsy Farm, everybody was asking, "Where's the other guy?" So
this is true.
you're every bit.
But
a
it
part
was
of
it would have been nice too. Like if it hadn't been planned that you had that, it would have been a possibility that would have said, just come to Paris too, which would have been wonderful. But we'll be back.
Oh, I have in my notes something about that. So don't worry.
So
you brought back this bag, which is their logo is on it, just fantastic.
And there's a logo here too.
Yes, these mugs are great.
I said I'm going to be drinking out of that.
So let's do
when I get
cheers,
back.
Enrico. Cheers, Enrico.
and Enrico.
Thank you.
And Camille.
And Camille,
He was
yes.
a cutie. And so is Enrico. They're my newest besties in the wool world.
Yes, they both are.
I don't get out much. But when I do, I think I'm going to leave the cabin to go somewhere. Where should I go? I've left this cabin in 2 years.
I'll go to Paris.
It's crazy.
Okay, so when Enrico was talking about this when you were filming him,
Yes.
Fonte Yarn 1880, I was salivating. This is one of the, and so he was talking
Really?
about, because this is a yarn company. You cannot get more French than this yarn. It's from Ile-de-France sheep.
Ile-de-France.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those sheep they were developed, when I say developed, they were developed in 1830 in France, and they were a cross between a Rambouillet
Of course.
and a
okay.
Dishley Leicester.
What is that?
And so when they mixed the two together, they called them, I think, Dishley Merinos.
Dishley.
Yeah, and so, but then they changed the name, thank goodness. And so, Ile de France is it's a much nicer name. So these sheep are primarily, they are used for milk and for meat.
Okay.
They didn't come to Canada until 1995.
Wow.
So we do have some here.
I love that he knows all of this because I didn't even know. I didn't have. I mean, I just got back. I didn't have it, but he knows all about this sheep and the wool, and I love that because I love that idea. And the Rambouillet, of course, we know originates in it's the French Merino.
Yeah.
So
When you talk about the sustainability, the sheep are from France.
yeah,
The mill is from France, and it's so everything, the processing, everything is done in France. So it's
and they've been
terrific.
doing this then for 140 years, is what?
Yeah.
Wow. And my understanding is there are fewer and fewer as of everywhere, but the fact that there's still a few mills that go from the French sheep to the mill to the final product
I
in
think there's
France
only
is very
two.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is from my understanding with talking to a couple of people that
Yeah.
there's so few. So to have this French wool from, right from the sheep to the mill to the shop is very special. And it's wonderful.
I love it. It's
very
really
soft.
nice. This is going to
really
be
nice.
It's going to knit up beautifully. I'm definitely going to dye it.
And Enrico said to me, he says, the reason he gave you these neutral colors because he wants you to dye them and see
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
it takes to dye and how that's going to turn out.
Yeah.
Which that might be on another episode.
It definitely will be.
You know
on
what I
the
like?
website.
It's like in the past with remember the couple who lived on the riverboat and they sent us their yarn.
Yeah.
I like the idea of
River
like
knits.
them sending them their yarn that they produce, and then we knit it, and I love to send it back to them as a gift because then it's even more special. It's come to us and gone back.
Yeah.
But Christopher's not making any promises, Enrico, because he's going to love it. He might just keep it for himself.
No,
So I take that back. You're not getting this back.
Enrico, don't listen to it. So, okay, the other thing was there were books there as well.
Yes.
And so
And
so when I'm watching this thing, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that book looks so great. Because you sent me the interview, so I was able to watch it before you got back.
yeah, I was a little bit worried because my phone was screwing up. I'm over in another continent in my phone, and I was concerned that if I'd lose some footage. So I sent them to you ahead of time because I wanted them gone off my phone, in case there were technical difficulties or scanning through the airport.
And so he picked up this book, and he was talking about this book, and I was salivating. I thought that this was great.
And I was very excited because he told me a bit about the history of about the author and the book itself and how it came together. And I was like, oh, I'm buying that book. Like, I'm buying that book's coming. And then he included it in his little package to Cabin Boy Knits. So I was thrilled, and you were thrilled.
Yeah, and this is from Alice Hemmer. How would you say Alice in French?
They just
Alice. Alice.
They just put a French twist to the name.
Hemmer.
How do you say her last name?
Hammer. I don't know.
Well, it says Hammer.
Hammer.
It says Hammer.
Hammer.
Well, I don't know if it's a French name like Anna, but that's like.
Yeah,
I
that
think
probably.
so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, it's a great book. I'll be able to read some of it. I can definitely read the patterns in here, and then you can read me the others.
Yeah.
And it'll be nighttime reading.
Yeah, well, what's fascinating about the book is she did this as a COVID project because she went out and because we talked about this yarn, what you just mentioned, she wanted to go and she visited some of these farms, these sheep farms and mills that are all French from start to finish and local, and she put this book together and she met and visited these people hands-on herself, and she made it a project, and she came out with this amazing, wonderful book. So there's a lot of history, local sheep, local mills,
Yep.
and then are they her patterns?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, and that I'm glad you walked us right into the pattern, because I thought
Did you
one
find
of the
it?
one of the benefits of you going to Paris that I benefit from is so I got to research, and so Enrico, I looked at your Ravelry page,
He Google stalked you, basically.
and you've got some amazing patterns, and I've already picked out a couple of things that I wanted. I'm going to knit the Caligula vest, and so I bought that this morning.
Oh.
And so I'm going to definitely put a link on here because I encourage people to go and check that out. But some of his designs all of his designs are really interesting.
Yeah.
And they're different. Like they've got a great twist on sweaters and it's fantastic.
Top of mind.
Really
now,
great.
You explained, the one shawl that we saw in
the window.
clip,
Yeah.
in the window, and he
Yeah.
explained.
That's on
I
Ravelry.
remember now what he had mentioned, how
I'll put a picture.
his interpretation of how he came about this pattern.
Even the one he was wearing it was one that he's designed as well. The one that he wore in the interview. So it was really exciting. And then Alice, I wasn't familiar with her sweaters. She's got tons of sweaters, and so I went on her Ravelry page, and it was exciting as well. I think I've picked out a couple of things that I'd like to knit of hers as well. So that was great. I had no idea. Just you went into interview, and we got all these great things, and
it's wonderful to talk about them
yes.
and share, and know that you could make your way to Paris, and
But
tourists seek out these locales. So when we mention them, it's like,
well, I'm pretty sure I have to go back because there are so many questions I have for Enrico and Camille. So I think I'm going to have to go back and pay a visit.
just an excuse to go to Paris.
That's right.
And did you happen to notice? It was something really unusual because I was
yes,
kind of looking through my viewfinder, if you want to call it that, and I
your
got
creep finder.
my creepy eye to the left. I caught an image in the window, and I'm thinking, I know you.
How much is that knitter in the window?
I'm not putting a price tag. You can't put a
You
price
put a
tag
price tag
on.
Franklin Habit.
So who do we have here? Look who I found walking the streets of Paris.
Hello! Oh, bonjour, bienvenue à Paris.
Franklin Habit, what brings you to Paris?
I live here now. This is my neighborhood. This is my neighborhood shop. This is my yarn shop. I mean, I don't own it, but this is the one that I shop at because I live literally like steps from here. So good to see you.
It's good to see you because last time I would have met you would have been at Vogue New York prior to COVID-19
Yes.
in 2019.
Yes.
And so how long have you been in Paris?
This is my third day, if you count my arrival day. If you don't count my arrival day, this is my second day. So
Okay.
yeah, so I'm brand new, fresh off the plane, and loving it so far. Yeah, this is great.
Well, it's a kind of a giant move because I mean, how does one just pick up, leave North America because you're planning on staying here
This is
for
the
a
plan.
period of time?
Yep. So, yeah, I managed to put together all of the financial things and technical things like the visa and all of that to make it possible for me to come here on a long stay visa that is renewable. And thanks to the fact that COVID changed how I do a lot of things, I certainly have not given up teaching by any means, but now I do a lot of my income comes from my Patreon patrons, and they really have made this possible because now my job is portable. So I'm still writing, I'm still teaching, I'm still designing, I'm doing all those things, but since I can do them from anywhere, and the opportunity came to do them from Paris, which is a city, I know this is a cliche, but I fell in love with Paris on my first visit, very unexpectedly, and then came back for several extended visits after that, and loved it more each time. I feel comfortable here, so why not live here? So here I am. So yeah.
And then I guess it's quite central to Europe, so with all of the festivals that hopefully will open up again sometime soon,
Well, it's funny you would
you
say
could travel.
that. At the end of the month, I just booked this morning. There is a festival in Lyon called Knit Eat, and that will be my first festival now that I live in Europe. So I have my hotel and my train to go down to Lyon, which I've never visited. So it's a lot of excitement coming all at once. And yes, that's absolutely true. Once things resume, I cannot wait to go to the shops that I love in Amsterdam and in London, and shops that I don't even know yet in cities I haven't been to. So I can hardly believe it's real. Every morning I have woken up and have felt like it's a dream. I can't still be here, and I am. So
I don't think people are going to look at you and think, wow, I mean, what a life that you could pick up and go, do what you do, and in the beautiful city of Paris.
I really can't believe that it's true myself. It still seems bizarre. This is what I have said, though, to several people who have made a point exactly like that. Is anybody who's watching this and you have some kind of dream, and that dream seems like some kind of crazy, unreachable dream, be careful what you wish for, because truly, if I can do this, if this can happen for me, then the thing that you're thinking of that you want, that can happen for you too. It can happen. It can happen. It took work to do this. Immigrating to France is, I'm guessing, probably easier than immigrating to the United States, but it's still a complex process, and it's not just that there are a lot of hoops to jump through, but it's they keep moving the hoops, and they keep telling you to go through this hoop, but then you go through that hoop and they say, oh, no, we meant this hoop. So there was work, but I feel you're getting me on my third day, but so far I love it as much as I thought I would, even more, honestly.
Yes. Who is still wet behind the ears? He was there. I think you caught him on day 2 of him moving
I think it was
to
day 2 or
Paris.
day 3.
Yeah, it was like right after he got there. So I'm amazed you were even able to find him.
I had no idea, because I then was, we connected, and he said he would put you in touch with Enrico, because he said, oh, you should, maybe visit this yarn shop. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then when I contacted, it's like, oh, I just arrived. I won't be able to make it. He is quite busy trying to get set up. And
could you imagine that? Like you're moving your life
your
all the
life
way over there.
Like, how to just pick up and go say, I'm going to leave the U.S. of A. and I leave Canada. I'm moving to Paris tomorrow. And then there he is, and he's there. And then there's Enrico.
Yeah.
And that was Enrico's day off as well. And they said, oh, Camille will help you. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's great. I said, I'll talk with Camille, and I'm going to make my way to the store no matter. I'm going to the shop. And they came. They said, we'll meet you there. And they both showed up. So that was fantastic. And then afterwards, they said, okay, you must go to Lil Weasel.
Yeah.
And I said, absolutely, wonderful. And so they said, well, it's not far from here. The easiest way is we'll just take a walk on over, and we'll take you there. And I thought, seriously? Because they were busy. They were in the middle of all sorts of things. Franklin had just arrived. He's unpacking. He's moving, trying to settle in, and he's, discombobulated somewhat. I mean, you can imagine I'm still on day 5, and I'm not even with it yet. I'm pretending.
But what was great, though, was like when you think about Franklin posts a lot of stuff. And so I'm living vicariously through Franklin. And so even though I love living at the cabin and I love living in Canada, and we're in the middle of the forest, there's a piece of me that loves the city as well, because I grew up in the city. And if you had to pick a city, Paris is definitely it. So Franklin, I'm living vicariously through you, and I love your posts, and it's great. It's great to see.
It was wonderful, meeting a familiar face.
Yes.
And you're halfway around the world, and hi. And, they're so gracious and wonderful in taking their time out.
Yeah.
And they're, like I said, super busy. So, and the neighborhood they're in is fantastic and vibrant. And Enrico said he moved to that neighborhood around, I think he said like 2008 or something, or 9.
Yeah.
And he lives very close to the shop. But what a vibrant neighborhood. I think it's kind of, I don't know the direction, but let's say just this way over from the Marais. So let's say kind of north of the Marais. Like, you have the Seine here, and Notre Dame Cathedral is very central. The Marais is just off this side of the river. And then it's just a little bit that way. And it's very, very eclectic and multicultural. A part of Paris I'd never seen before, but there was so much happening in the cafes and markets. It's not a touristy area at all, per se. It's a living neighborhood. So vibrant and exciting, and he said it's changed over the years, of course, since he's been. And it's along an ancient north-south route, and there's it looks like a mini Arc de Triomphe, but it's one of the portals into the entrance to the old city from ancient route north-south and the entrance to Paris from way back when, and that was built in the 1600s. So you'll see where we are walking towards that portico, that portal, through this vibrant part of town where they live, and headed towards Little Weasel.
And so that's where you went next. That was so nice of them to take you there.
Absolutely.
So let's take a look.
Bonjour Karine.
Bonjour.
Je viens de loin du Canada et puis c'est d'une boutique de laine qui est très très recommandée de mon ami Enrico and also Franklin Habit. So I am so happy to be here.
Oh, and I'm so happy to have you here. And thank you, Enrico and Franklin.
Thank you. So I was thinking maybe you could just show us a little bit of your shop, maybe talk about a little bit of your wool and where they're from and maybe some of your favorites.
Oh God, they're all my favorites, so that's going to be so hard. On this side of the shop, which is the second side that we've opened, there's another side just next door. We have all the indie dyers, and we have quite a few, not all at the same time. Right now we have one of my absolute favorites, which is Life in the Long Grass. I don't know if you're familiar with this one. It's indie dyer who is located in Ireland, and she has lovely, lovely colors. I'm just fond of her work. Skein Queen, an English indie dyer. I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to work with her thanks to the Brexit, but that's another issue entirely. We work with a Canadian indie dyer who's Julie Asselin. I'm sure you're familiar.
Oui, on
with her.
connaît Julie Asselin.
And we love her. A French one who is very dear to our heart, and her name is Marion, and her laine are called the Vilaine, which is a very nice pun, and because it's like the bad yarn, and she's a lovely indie dyer. I think she was the real first French indie dyer to arrive on the French market before it was all the rage. So she has a real history, and she does lovely things. We have her own brand as well, and I dye the yarn myself in an atelier just above the shop next door. So those are all the yarns we have here. We recently had La Bien-Aimée join our ranks. I'm sure you're familiar with this brand as well. So her yarn are here for the moment.
Oui.
And one of the first indie dyer yarn that we had when we opened 11 years ago was Malabrigo. So Malabrigo will always have like its special corner in the shop because we've been working with them forever, and I think our customers love them and will be, loyal to them always. But this side of the shop is always dedicated to haberdashery and sewing and fabric, Liberty fabric, which we're in love with. I don't know about you, but my God, Liberty, There you go.
Okay. And so, should we go to the other side?
Oh yes,
Okay.
after you.
Thank you.
So, as you might have noticed inside, we do carry now La Bien-Aimée, which is so nice for us, and I think our customers are very happy to find her here. And she fits right in with the other selection in the shop, so it's really cool. We put her in the window because the colors are so great. I think it's really, really, really nice, and I think she's happy to be here, so that's cool. So let's go to the other shop, the original one. Back with the mask. So welcome to the tiny, tiny, tiny Little Weasel shop. And I think what people like about this side of the shop is the, I don't know how to say this, comment dire, mur de laine.
A wall of wool.
The wall of yarn, yes. It's this wall of yarn because right from the beginning we organized it by color. And at first people were really, really, really maybe puzzled about it because all the qualities are, you know, jumbled together. But I think it opens the mind to other possibilities, that you come looking for one yarn, but then you see something else and you can try different things. And to help customers find what they want, we have all those color cards for each quality. So it's not so confusing for people. But when you arrive here and you see all the colors, it's like, oh, why not this one? And I hadn't thought about that one. It's not just the quality you came for, and you get stuck on that quality and look just the colors for that quality. It's just, oh, why not that and this and that? So that's what I think. That's what people like, among other things.
It's almost like with the ladder and the wall is almost like a library of wool.
Exactly. That's what we had in mind. That's what I told the person who designed the wall. That's what I had in mind when I had the person draw the plans. I want something that looks like a library. Exactly.
And like when you're looking for a book, you look through all the...
Exactly.
Very good.
You looked right through it. You saw right through it.
Yes. Okay.
Color everywhere. Buttons, wool.
What?
But then again, whenever we receive a new quality or a new color, I just let you imagine how it is to fit it in the wall.
Okay.
Have you heard of Tetris?
Tetris?
You know the game?
Oh, yes.
The old one from the 80s or the 90s?
Well, maybe I don't remember that far.
Exactly like this.
OK. Et je pensais que ça continuait parce que je ne savais pas que c'était un miroir quand vous avez dit ça. Je viens juste de me voir, puis c'est comme,
Voilà.
OK, là,
Et
je me
en fait,
vois.
le miroir était déjà là quand
Oui.
j'avais pris le local. Et c'est ça qui est super, c'est que la boutique est très petite, mais que du fait du miroir, ça donne énormément de profondeur. C'est un couloir, cette boutique, donc elle n'est pas facile à travailler. Mais avec le miroir, ça fait respirer, en fait.
Oui. Puis vous avez mentionné, vous avez la laine que vous-même avez fait en haut ici?
Oui, en haut, on a un atelier de teinture.
Oh, vous dites en haut, mais ici, vous avez la
Non.
laine ici. Oh non,
Parce
c'est en
que
haut, en haut.
Ici, en fait, de ce côté-ci, on this side, we have all the wool that is made in a mill, that is industrially made, and the indie dyers are next door. So the yarn that I dye myself are sold next door.
OK.
This side is just, main brands.
OK.
So we try to have French brands because there are very few left. So we do try to make the French mills work as much as possible. We have a few American brands, Danish ones because they have wonderful yarn. Swiss yarn from Switzerland, Germany. What else do I have? England, quite a few from England. And that's basically it. So quite a basically from Europe, and a few from the United States.
Okay.
And
Do you get a lot of tourists who come through? Do you notice?
These past 2 years, no. But yes, we do.
Okay.
We do have we have a lot of tourists because I think the shop is starting to be well known and tourists come to visit it, but also because the passage is so gorgeous and is very, very present in all the books, in all the tourist guides. Because if you want to follow me, this glass roof you see upstairs is the highest glass roof of all the passages in Paris. It's the highest glass structure in Paris, and it was built in the Eiffel style, like the Eiffel Tower. And so it's a very interesting passage, architecture-wise. So it's present in all the guides. Parisians know it, but not such tourists know it. Alors, voilà. Donc là, il y a un échantillon un peu de ce que je fais. Donc il y a plusieurs qualités. Alors, c'est une toute petite production parce que c'est moi qui l'éteins, mais à la fois c'est moi qui gère le magasin, je suis à la vente, je suis à la comptabilité, et je suis... enfin voilà, donc je teins quand j'ai le temps. Donc c'est vraiment une micro-production, mais je me fais très plaisir à teindre. Voilà.
So, what did you think?
It is beautiful. Oh my gosh, talk about a beautiful place to have a yarn shop. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, there's history behind there. Corinne was explaining it to me, and I'm just going from top of mind, but you could see that it's a covered corridor. What do they call that? They have them in different cities where they've enclosed the buildings because it's a narrow passageway.
Yeah.
But that was enclosed using steel and glass, steel with the same sort of construction as the Eiffel Tower. So I'm imagining, she had mentioned it was probably around the late 1800s.
Oh, wow.
Where this was built and covered. And they decorated for different times of the season. They do artwork and decoration. And so what was going on up there, they did it in the sense of a swimming pool. And so if you look up, there was like a woman diving, and then there was another person up the side of the wall coming down. They actually had a ladder on the side of the wall, like a chrome ladder, and there was like a swimmer going down it. And then they had these like buoys all along linear like this that were supposed to look like these swimming lanes. So it was very cool. So it's a very, very, it's a place, a lot of tourists make their way down that shopping row and center. So they're in a fantastic location. And, they have two sides to the shop.
Did you walk to the shop?
Yeah, we just walked from there to there.
How long was it?
Oh, it's like not even a 10-minute walk.
Oh, really? That
was
close?
just down.
Oh, wow.
And what's great is they have, they're great because they work hand in hand because, they're very different stores.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so they're constantly, they'll send people back and forth. Someone's looking for something specific. They say, hey, you could find it at Little Weasel. And Little Weasel say, hey, if you just go down this way, just down the road, you can go to Les Tricoteurs Volants and you could find this and this and this sort of types of wools. So they're good friends. They work hand in hand. Corinne was a sweetheart and wonderful, and who was Anne that I met with her? But she was taking over this side when I was chatting with Corinne. So Corinne showed me all around.
Sure.
And she was such a sweetheart. She was so welcoming, and she, what's really fascinating is she sent along a little gift. But I was looking for yarn, and I wanted to. One side is all indie dyers. It's all indie wool.
Oh, hold on a second. What do you mean she sent a gift? I thought you bought these.
No, she gifted these to Cowboy Knits.
Oh my gosh!
But I
didn't know that.
Yeah.
And
She
also,
did.
and
Oh, you thought? Oh,
I thought you
thought-
bought them.
Oh, yeah, I bought some from Paris.
But I couldn't believe what good taste you have.
Well, this is the funny thing. It's like, okay, so there's two sides to the shop. And the one side, we started, it was all the indie dyers.
Yes.
And as you saw, there's like, you know, she mentioned how Bien Aimé, La Bien Aimée, because, you know, during COVID, she shut her bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
And they thought, wow, she's known around Paris. They love her stuff.
Around the world.
Oh, okay, well, let's
Yeah.
go there.
Yes.
That's right. And they thought, hey, this would be, we'd love to have your yarn in our shop. And it was hanging in the window. And, you know, I'm looking through all of the yarns and, you know, I'm thinking, what would Christopher like? And I picked up a couple of them. I forget what company they were. And I mentioned, she goes, well, that's kind of a popular kind of choice. And I said, yeah, okay. And then I said, okay, well, I just want to look a little further. And then I saw one that I thought, oh, this is really nice. I really love this color. And I didn't even know I chose the one out of all the wools there. I chose the yarn that she herself, she just started doing dye. She has a dye studio upstairs, I think she said. And she said, well, that's my yarn. And I was like, and it's so crazy because, you know, what were the chances of it? I said, well, it's gorgeous. And
It is
so
beautiful.
She said, well, and then she paired it. So this was the one that I loved, this color. It's like a beautiful rusty gold. And then she paired it with that one. And she said, well, these are... She did show us some of the yarns, but not these ones. And these were, because she said hers were up there, and these were over there. And I was drawn to this color, and it just so happened that it was her yarn as well.
That's incredible.
So she says, oh my gosh, you just take those.
Yeah.
And so that was very sweet and very kind.
And I already know what I'm going to knit with these as well. I think as
And
soon as I saw
love them.
it, right like that, I knew exactly what I want to knit with it. So they're beautiful. And they are
What is the yarn?
90% merino and 10% yak.
Oh.
And they are super soft.
See?
So this is nice.
It's,
really
and I didn't
nice.
even know that.
Yeah.
And see, and so I just drawn to good taste. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And a great bag as well. Project bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love the fact that, see, you walk in and the store is split in two, and you can walk in and everything is indie dyed on one side, which is incredible.
Absolutely.
It's just so incredible.
And then the other side is a lot of the traditional wools, like we mentioned.
Yes.
The wool that you just mentioned that they had at the other shop,
Yeah.
and they as well. You know, they'll carry a lot of French wool, but a lot of wools from all over Europe, but
And Canada.
And Canada.
Yes. Who did you see
They
there?
had. She mentioned Canadian Julia Swain.
Yeah.
And I said, and it's mind-boggling because, you know, if you meet Julia Swain, you hear, you know, we're at festivals where she's at, and we come across her yarn, but, you know, you just think you're somewhere halfway around the world again in this little shop. Well, not a little shop, but beautiful shop in Paris. Yeah. And there's Julia Swain. I'm like, wow! It just feels like it just feels like home in Paris with our Canadian wool, and and a lot of great brand names and local, like the same thing, French wool, French mills. They try to do that.
Yes.
And she explained how they display it as well. You walk in and it's like a library.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh yeah, that's what you said. Yeah, and it does look like a library.
And she said that's exactly what she had anticipated the design would look like. So yeah, that was great. It was wonderful.
Did you buy yourself anything?
No, I don't.
You didn't buy yourself any yarn? I can't believe that. Maybe I'll share my yarn.
I didn't.
But the both stores were absolutely beautiful. I love them, and so that's even more reason
And
to
if
go
I
back.
had more time, there are other wool shops. There was another one that I specifically wanted to see, and I didn't get a chance. So we'll have to go back and do a little more because there's far more than just two yarns. But these, I was so pleased and loved the fact that they were so receptive and welcoming and friendly, so friendly, and it was a wonderful experience. And
That's great.
It makes me feel happy.
Great. Well, I'm glad you feel happy.
Yes.
So, did you buy yourself anything?
Well, I brought this because I thought, okay, when in Paris, what do you do? What's the other thing you do when in Paris? I mean, you visit all the iconic places, you eat. And I was with my good friend Orlena, as I mentioned. She was celebrating a very special birthday. And it helped that, you know, I was saying how my experience, and when we were there as well, you know, people might have an opinion about French and French, Parisian, Paris, you know, the proper French. And I'm you know, I get complimented for my French, which is great, but I always feel, and I've visited France before, I was in the south of France, and people have even said to me, it's like, oh, les petits Canadiens français. They feel like, some of them feel like we're their little French colony that went and settled in Canada, you know, a couple of hundred years ago, 250, 300 years ago. Well, the first ones came far before that, you know, 400 years prior. But our little French Canadians. So I don't know if it's because of that I've had a great experience, or we had a great experience, myself and Orlena. Everybody was super friendly, and you know, when they hear your accent, I was gonna say accident, when they hear your accent, they know right away that it's French Canadian. But mine not so much Quebecois, because it is not a Quebecois accent, because up in my northern Ontario town, we learned Old World French. Yeah. So it's sort of a proper French, and I'm not realizing I was saying these very, like, let's say like the Queen's English, where I say these proper words that they just use a more hip way of seeing it, a more now expression. And I know one of them that they pointed out is because I'll say, oh, je demeure à Toronto, je demeure à Belleville, which Belleville is a French word, Belleville. And they're like, demeure. They don't say je demeure. It's like, j'habite à, you know.
So it's kind of like Oscar Wilde showing up today in the conversation.
Maybe, not as bad as that, but they said most of them said, oh, no, don't lose that. We love the charm of the words you use and the accent. So it was wonderful. But yes, while there we eat, and, you know, Orlena was like, okay, have you gone to the bakery yet? Because, of course, you step out right across from where we're staying, there's a cake shop, but that one was only cakes. And I was like, oh my gosh. But so, of course, the one day she did buy little cakes, because you get individual of the big ones, just a little cake.
Yeah.
But, of course, on that corner then, there's the little cafe with amazing pastries, the pâtisserie, and, this Viennoise, like Viennese.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I had one of those on a regular basis, and she needed to have the chocolate croissant, but it's actually a chocolate, like, pain.
But you've lost weight.
I lost weight. I can't believe it.
I think it's because you walked everywhere, probably.
We walked 6 to 7 hours.
And you cycled. You went on a cycling tour.
And we went on a cycling tour to all of the iconic locations, which was great, because our tour guide was wonderful, and he explained a lot of the history of places I didn't know. One of the places I didn't mention we stopped in was just beyond the anniversary. And as soon as we crossed this other bridge from the Place des Invalides, which was a military hospital, one of a kind from way, way back then, when France was, you know, when wars were being fought, and they were trying to, you know, everybody was trying to take over the world, I guess. But they were doing military exercises here, there, and everywhere. So there were a lot of military injured. So they built this massive hospital. And there's also a bridge where the exact spot where Chop Chop, Marie Antoinette, and King Louis the oh my goodness, I'm going to get mixed up if it's 14 or 16. Well, they got the chop, and we're at that location. So as we crossed the bridge, we stopped, and he says, do you know what's interesting about this stop? And I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, no, not thinking, because the monster dog is making an appearance, because when we take a pause and take a breath, he thinks we're done, and he just comes to say hello. So as anyway, he did brush his teeth this morning. So we're stopped across this bridge, and I look yonder, and I see this golden flame. And
did you say I look beyond yonder, or did you say
I looked yonder?
Yonder, yes, as one does.
And I noticed this golden flame, and just before our little tourist guide mentioned it, I went, and I looked, and there was a bridge. It was Pont d'Alma.
Oh.
And the flame, if you recall, has become a memorial every year at the end of August. It's always the August long weekend, and it was unfortunately the bridge
where Princess Diana died.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't go right up to it because there was a memorial, and there would have still been flowers and that sort of thing. So it was kind of a very touching point of interest. I mean, unexpected. Yeah. So it was great. But anyway,
we got sidetracked
because I was talking about what I bought.
Yes.
And it was this. And we talked about patisserie and bakeries. And in this episode, I wasn't going to attempt to, bake something fantastic like those fantastic Parisian pastries. But I did buy an apron that had all of the touristy points of interest, like a painting.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Just think of all the baking you can do while you're wearing this.
So I mentioned some of the places. So one place I didn't mention, Montmartre, which is up near the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, kind of that way up the hill. It's one of the highest points. And when you're at the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, which is right here in Montmartre, you could be up in the dome, and you're looking back at Paris at the Eiffel Tower. So we were there in the evening, and we saw the tower
that's
lit
nice.
up and all of the lights. And of course, the Arc de Triomphe is here, and Notre Dame, and the Eiffel Tower, and this was the bridge, the Pont Alexandre III.
Yeah.
So we did all of that on that bike tour,
It's got a pocket.
and it's got a pocket to keep my notes or something or other. But we also
Your
visited,
recipes.
a couple of other places. Like, of course, we went to Versailles, which unbelievable because we had been before, and of course, the famous Hall of Mirrors and glass and
Yeah.
chandeliers, absolutely the most stunning, probably the most renowned castle in the world because of its luxurious and its over-the-top money that was put into it. And then, of course, Marie Antoinette, she had to have her own little palace. There's like the Grand Trianon, le Petit Trianon, and, Orlena liked to call it, she goes, oh, and Marie Antoinette, she had to have her own she shed. Her she shed.
That's quite the she shed.
Yeah, and her own little theater, so she could star. She could be the star in her own productions. There's
Yeah.
a little theater that she would star in, and so overall, I mean, it was an incredible, journey through Paris, and of course, we hope to be back again.
Absolutely.
There are other
Yes.
places to see and do yarn shops.
We're definitely going back.
And I want to absolutely go to the royal sheep farm of Rambouillet outside of Paris.
Yes.
I was on
That'll be
my
fun.
kind of to-do list, and then there's so much to see, and I should have ventured over there, but we will do it another time.
That sounds great. So what's coming up?
I don't know, I've been away. What is coming up?
We have a magazine that we want to share with everyone.
Right.
There's an article about Cabin Boy Knits, and so we'll love to share that with you.
It's in the inaugural new launch of this magazine. isn't
Yes, it is.
Business magazine.
Q-Biz. Yep.
Q-Biz.
Yep. And we received a package from England.
We did?
Yes. So we will be talking about Dorset buttons in our next episode.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
And while you were away gallivanting around in Gay Paris, I was knitting sweaters. So I have
yeah.
a couple of sweaters, and I'm going to start a new sweater for my daughter.
Oh my gosh.
She's not watching, so she won't.
Finished objects, fobs. Speaking of which, okay, I'm a little bit embarrassed. I apologize.
I think you're a lot of bit embarrassed.
To of my people out there, my knit along friends. I got sidetracked. I got carried away. But most importantly, the problem was, if you recall, I ran out of color, the blue, which was
Yes.
blue indigo on the gray Gotland.
Now, if only you knew a natural dyer to dye that for you, you would have been all set.
That's right. And we had to, there were a couple of attempts, because you did that color a couple of years ago. I had
Yes.
that yarn. That wasn't going anywhere. I was saving that for me because I loved it so. So a couple of attempts to match it exactly, and then we got it perfectly right, exactly. I finished the blue, so I have just the cuff left, which I'm going to do in the other one there, the cream colored. So I am going to finish that, and we're going to have a final, get together, not knit along, because everyone's done their sweater, of course. They're all worn out and worn now by
It's
now.
the knit end along.
It's the end along.
It's
the end along.
It's the closing party.
I want to see.
It's the after party.
Exactly. I want to see the outcome of everybody's projects, and show you mine finally, and just say hey, and we'll have a lot to chat about.
Well, and even if you didn't knit the flax sweater,
Right.
you can still. We still had people join, and by all means, if you knit, crochet, bring along your projects. I will put a link to the after party.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and it'll be soon.
Yeah, just come
'Cause
along. Just come along and chat and knit.
So I'll set the date, and then that will force you to have it finished by that date.
I could do that cuff in about
and
a day.
it'll be in the next couple weeks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you remember in May,
No.
I was digging, and I planted
Oh, that's right.
2 swatches, one swatch of wool and the other one of acrylic. And we're going to dig that up and see
Synthetic.
what that looks like.
Yeah, it's to do with the Prince Charles and
The campaign for wool.
The campaign for wool.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Yeah. And the last
More?
thing, this is the gift that just keeps giving.
Okay.
So we'll do that, and then we're going to do the big reveal and see what it looks like.
Okay.
And so we'll have that in the next episode, and then we'll talk about a couple of other projects that are on the go as well.
Okay.
So
just really want to say we're happy to be back here together because we haven't done this desk business
oh
in a
yeah,
while.
yeah. I was going to say when you said we're happy to be back, I've always been back.
I know.
But you're talking about in front of
we've
the
had
camera.
the interviews, which has been
Yes.
keeping us busy.
Yeah.
Montreal, and now we're just going to be back into the swing of things, and happy to see you all again. Looking forward to more commentaries. That's what I look forward to, coming back, and we read them in the morning. So thank you all for keeping up with us.
And if you want to know what Jamie did, what else he did in Paris, send the notes. Just send along a question, any question you want, and I'll make sure that Jamie answers the question for
Happens
you.
in petty, stays in petty.
So thank you so much for joining us today. Really enjoyed it, and we enjoyed sharing your Paris. You enjoyed sharing your Paris trip with everyone.
Yes.
Have a great week.
À la prochaine, mes amis.
Au revoir. Goodbye, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.